And welcome everybody to Sports on Tap. My name is Ed Dick, alongside Rob Troutman, Sean Duffy, and Josh Jeffy. Noah Jacobson is on assignment today. But we are Sports on Tap. You're currently watching us on our YouTube page. As Sean likes to say, make sure you smash the subscriptions buttons, get those notifications, like us on YouTube and Facebook to find out when we're going to be coming on and talking about high school sports. We have a great show for you tonight. We're going to be joined by head coach of the Elyria Catholic Panthers, Brian Fox. They won the Great Lakes Conference West Division this year and made a pretty good run in the playoffs. We're going to talk to him about that and just how the overall state of their program. They've had really good success the last couple of years, especially in the playoffs. So we'll certainly want to talk to him about that, as well as the seniors that are coming out and some of the juniors and sophomores and maybe even freshmen that are come up and join as well. In addition to that, we'll be going through, we have one recap to talk about tonight. It's from the Holy Name Green Wave and their Division III state semifinal match against the Canfield Cardinals. We will go through the state semifinals games quickly for Divisions 1 through 4. We'll mention at least 5 and 6 because we know there's some Northeast Ohio teams up here. But we generally don't deal too much with those teams because they haven't made the playoffs in our coverage area. With Elyria Catholic moving up from Division 5 to Division 4, that took Division 5 kind of off the table for us. No offense to Fairview there. You're also going to check us out on Facebook. Most importantly, check us out on our website, sportsontappodcast.com. You can see all the latest scores, schedules, any updates that have to do with the show there as well. You can also check us out on Twitter at SOT Podcast. All of our live updates will be always come through on at SOT Podcast. The guys have done a great job this year, bringing you the fans up to the minute live stats and updates. They've done all the work. They've done between Rob, Sean, Josh, and Noah. You're not going to find better coverage from a single provider than you will from us, especially when it comes to Great Lakes Conference, the Suburban League, the Greater Cleveland Conference, and the Southwestern Conference as well. So we'll go through that. We'll go through the state. We'll take a brief look at the state finals as well, and then we're looking to have a quick show tonight because we have a lot to get to here later in the week, which we'll talk about closer to the end of the show. Let's get our sponsors squared up here. GV Artwork and Design. You can see them at gvartwork.com. Use the promo code ONTAP10 to get 10% off of your purchase. Get tremendous local and professional T-shirts that fit whatever fandom that you follow. You go to Bandwagon Fantasy Sports. That's bandwagonfantasysports.com. This is a different type of fantasy contest where you're drafting teams instead of drafting players. And you want to join that bandwagon as soon as you can. Quite honestly, we're getting close to the end of the season here, but they've been a great partner for us for the duration of the year. We had our own league, the Sports on Tap League. You got to choose 8 teams with $36, and the more the better you did on your bandwagon, the more value you got. So if you picked a team that maybe wasn't as worth as much in week 1 or week 2, that went on a pretty good run, that just made your team a lot better. Road wins are built into the tiebreaker as well. So make sure you check out Bandwagon Fantasy Sports for them. Also, G&G Fitness Equipment. That's www.livefit.com. They have been our main sponsor for the Player of the Week contest for the duration of this year. Also the Coach of the Week in years past. So visit them at livefit.com. You can also check them out on Twitter at G&G Fitness EQ. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. They can take care of all your live streams, any sort of sports films you want to put together, recruiting videos. Catch them at www.rrt-productions.com, and you will get the finest of services through RRT Productions. Last and certainly not least, Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance. He is located in beautiful Hudson, Ohio, 234-284-2996. You can also visit him at 5603 Delaware Road, Suite 500 in Hudson, Ohio, 44236. You can call Ray for a quick quote on your auto today. He's also looking for, he's always looking for team members to join his team as well. Raymond Felton, State Farm Insurance, definitely a friend of show, friend of us for quite some time. So with all the sponsors there, guys, we're really getting to it. The state semifinals have come and gone. Unfortunately for us, we only had one team left, and they, so we'll get to that game here in a little bit. But for Division I, we had one local team in the running, and it's a heck of a local team. It's the reigning, defending Division I state champion, the St. Edward Eagles. They took on Gahanna Lincoln, and we'll get this PowerPoint up that Sean put together as he always does. And then we'll get going on this. Josh, when it comes to the Division I, we were talking about Division I. I mean, up until this year, we've talked about the teams like Mentor and Medina, some of the teams that we cover specifically. But at the end of the day, all roads lead through St. Ed's.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right, Ed. And St. Ed's kind of willed their way back to the Division I state championship game. And you know what? They earned it with great running and solid defense that they've had all year. And now one thing about St. Ed's is they have the ability to kind of match and defend any team that they're playing. And this game was no different. They were able to get out to some quick scores from them. They were led by senior running back Marvin Bell Jr., who's just put together quite a season, and especially here in a playoff run. He ran for 134 yards. He did have one score. It was late in the fourth quarter, but, give credit to the St. Ed's defense in this game. Gahanna Lincoln's running back, Diori Hubbard, he's a Mr. Football candidate this season, and I got these stats from Cleveland.com. They did a great job, but in the 14 games this year, Hubbard rushed for over 2,300 yards with 25 touchdowns. In this game, Ed's kept him to only 15 carries, 68 yards, and that was in 3 quarters. So give credit to them. St. Ed's coming out ready to go. This game was pretty much over early on. Gahanna could do nothing on the offensive end. They cannot muster any kind of offense whatsoever against St. Ed's defense, and St. Ed's went on to a 31-7 victory. They will actually go on to face Springfield, who came away with a pretty solid victory against Archbishop Moeller. They won 22-21, surprising a little bit. Springfield was in the championship game last year, Division I state championship game. So, maybe not a surprise to all, but a surprise to a few out there. Archbishop Moeller out of Cincinnati, always one of the powerhouses, expected to probably be in that championship game. But give credit to Springfield. They're going back. So it's going to be a rematch from last year. Excuse me, they screwed up that one. I'm looking at the wrong season here. Let me get it up. I just want to be clear on what Springfield did there. Stand by. Anyways, it will be a rematch of the Division I State 1 championship game. Springfield 13-1. They did beat Archbishop Moeller 28-24. So it sets up, like I said, another rematch. Last year, the game St. Ed's won. Same thing. Offense would have needed it, but their defense stepped up. So looking forward to this one being a pretty contested matchup. But I think Ed's has their defense ready to roll. And once they have that rushing attack too, they're going to be hard to beat. And like you said, Ed, all roads lead through St. Ed's until they get knocked off. So we'll see how this one goes. This game will be played. I think you guys have that up, or will have that up momentarily. Sorry, I'm a little off. My computer's not working here. So we'll get to that in a little bit here.
Yeah, there we go. We got that game. That game's going to be played Friday night.
Appreciate that very much.
Yeah, so we played Friday night. That's the that'll be the primetime game at 7:00, right at Tom Benson Memorial Stadium at the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and Canton, and thanks, Ed. I appreciate you stepping in for me with that one. But yeah, like I said, this is going to be a rematch, going to be highly contested. But I think Heads has it going on right now. They only had one loss in the season, and they're looking to kind of win out this year and to win back-to-back state championships. It should be fun.
It's not easy to do that from a Division I standpoint
Correct.
because of the level of talent. Now, the fact that the same two teams are playing for the state championship, that's pretty rare. I mean, State Ignatius had a really good run in the '90s and even the 2000s, where it seemed like they were making it every year and playing some sort of team from Cincinnati or the Columbus area. But the fact that we have St. Ed's, I'm not particularly surprised because of how successful they are. Springfield is a public school, and for a public school to make the big school division championship
2 years in a row,
that is impressive. It was a 23-13 game last year, so it certainly wasn't a blowout by any stretch of the imagination. And these two teams have seen each other now. Obviously, you got slightly different personnel. St. Ed's has a different quarterback than they had last year. Christian Ramos was the starter last year. And this year, they've been able to patch that pretty efficiently. Their offensive and defensive lines are just astounding. If you're looking at a small, a Division III, Division II college line, essentially when you're looking at St. Ed's, they can fly around. And and Josh, you have a good point. They can play any game that their opponents throw at them. If they need to play man, they can go man. If they want to go zone or stack the box, they can do that too. So they're just really, really hard to score on. But Springfield is certainly no slouch. Taking out Moeller is a big deal. So this will be a great game. So that game will be again Friday night at 7 p.m. It's going to be the primetime game as the Division I was moved from Saturday night to Friday night more recently to accommodate that. All right, Josh, thank you very much for that. Great job on Division I as always. Let's shift over to Division II, the state semifinals. We have the scores up there. It was Archbishop Hoban reestablishing their dominance against Massillon with a 41-20 victory, and then Toledo Central Catholic and Kings Mills Kings. These guys had a battle. Goodness gracious. So Rob and Josh, I mean, Toledo Central Catholic saw both of your teams over the course of the playoff season. Talk about this game a little bit, or what your thoughts are.
Well, this is one in the fourth quarter. Toledo Central Catholic, they needed a solid drive to get this game and get the win, and that's exactly what they did. And 75 yards on 11 plays, and then Chris Edmonds, the running back, for Toledo Central Catholic. And every team that has played Toledo Central Catholic has had a problem with Chris Edmonds in stopping that running game. 28 seconds remaining at a 5-yard touchdown run, and they were able to hold on to that 52-49 win, but it really took everything they had in this one. I mean, 75 yards on 11 plays, and what a game it was. I mean, both teams played so well. That had to be tough to lose that game, because realistically either team could have moved on in this one. But give credit to Toledo Central Catholic. I mean, they've had some really close games in these playoffs. Obviously they beat Avon Lake, then they go on and beat Avon, but they had a really tough battle here, and it was back and forth really the whole game. It was pretty close. It was 42-38 with 6:47 remaining, and then there was another big play where it was 45-42. So it was going back and forth offensively, where defense was optional in this one, obviously, scoring 52 and 49 points. But give credit, when Toledo Central Catholic needed to make a play, they did it in fine fashion, and getting this win was huge. And actually the Knights, Kings Mills, tried to go for a 34-yard field goal. They actually had a solid drive and went down for a 34-yard field goal on the final play of the game, but it did come up short in this one, and that's crazy. 34-yarder maybe didn't have the juices going, which I don't know how you don't in this one, but either way, I'm sure that he was getting some pressure there, but fell a little bit short, and Toledo Central Catholic got the win.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Toledo Central Catholic and Kings score, and you see that was a back and forth game throughout the night. But something again, Rob, that you touched on is just Toledo Central Catholic's path to the state championship game. They had to knock off some purebreds. They had to knock off some really good teams, and I'm not just talking about teams like Highland and Avon. They've had to go through and win, and they've been doing it any which way you can. They've been blowing teams out like they did against Highland and that historically good defense. They beat a team that's been battle tested in Avon, and now they win in essentially a shootout against a Kings Mills team. On the flip side of that, you look at Hoban, and Hoban is right where they want to be. They are in the state championship game with a big win over Massillon, Washington. Can they get over that? Can they get over that hump to finally get that championship? Because let's be honest, Hoban is a team. It is probably the marquee team in this matchup, taking nothing away from Toledo Central Catholic. But Hoban has been a team that's been consistently in the top 10 to top 3 really in the state. And that's across divisions. And you can really make that case that a lot of those teams are, that Hoban's they've beaten pretty solidly as well. So looking at this matchup now, when you look at Toledo Central Catholic and Archbishop Hoban, I'm really interested to see how this game plays out because it could play out in a myriad of ways. It can be a 13-10 defensive battle, and I think that type of game favors a Hoban, so to speak, but it could also be a shootout like we've seen in Toledo Central Catholic. And I really do believe that if we look at this will probably be the one game we're kind of looking and circling, and saying this is probably going to be hopefully one of the better and more real competitive state championship games that's on the slate for this week. But congratulations to Hoban. Congratulations to Toledo Central Catholic on getting to the Division II state finals. Taking nothing away from, Massillon, Washington and Kings Mills. Look, Kings Mills was right there. I mean, they a couple bounces their way, and we're talking about Kings versus Hope. So, I mean, your heart breaks for a team like Kings Mills because, again, we talk about that public school, southern area, in that Middletown area. That's something that's prominent. I played in that area in high school. So it's rare to see in the Division II, if a team does get out of the Dayton area, it's going to be a public school. To touch on what Ed said about Springfield, yeah, it's a big boy school. It's the big school network. But if you look, Springfield is a massive school district in the middle of in the Dayton area. It's just as big as Hubert Heights. It's right up there. So, like I said, if a team out of the Dayton area is going to make it to the state finals, which we have an opportunity here, it's going to be a public school because that's just where the talent goes. It's kind of the opposite. When I moved from Dayton to Cleveland, I was shocked as to how the parochial schools kind of dominate football because that's not what I saw until we got to deep in the playoffs, where we saw those teams out of Cincinnati, or we saw teams out of Columbus that were not public schools, because we played like the best teams that we had were public schools. I played on a couple of them. We had some really good parochial schools. Kettering Altar, Carroll, Chaminade Julienne. Those were really good parochial schools, but a lot of the times, at least when I played them, Altar out of Kettering is a fantastic program that's a little bit down because they haven't really had we were talking about them on a Dayton area. I think they were Division III, Division IV for a couple of years. But just to kind of cap on my point is, the Dayton area has a really good crop of football in the public school realm and not so much in the parochial schools. So it'll be interesting to see. But from a standpoint of this, I look for Archbishop Hoban to get this championship. I really do. Toledo Central Catholic is a game opponent, but I just think Archbishop Hoban and Sperling and what they can do on the offensive side of the ball and control the game, I think it sets up well for Hoban. But again, Toledo Central Catholic has kind of gone through that. They've had to deal with that that Highland defense that was so great. They had to deal with Avon, who had all that experience, and now they won in a shootout against Kings. So you never know. But obviously I like Hoban because it's from this area. And I don't like Toledo Central Catholics. I don't like Toledo team. That's why I went to Bowling Green. So that's the way I feel. And That's the way it's going to stay.
Well,
you want to call me a
Hoban,
homer? Fine. I'm a homer. I don't care.
Hoban has dominated so far in the playoffs. I mean, they got up to a 21-6 lead at halftime against Massillon, Washington, and pretty much cruised in their game. So I think they probably are the favorite, I would guess. I want to thank Anthony Williams for chatting on our YouTube page, and he's a Glenville fan, and
we'll get there.
We're getting there eventually, but
we'll get there.
But yeah,
we're in Division 4. We're on Division
This is going to be a great matchup, though. I think, but like I said, Hoban's tough, and they've dominated so far in the playoffs.
And the common thread between these two teams is they both have a loss against St. Ed's. That's their only loss of the year is at the hands of St. Ed's. These two teams haven't played each other since 2015 in the state championship or state semifinals, one of the two rounds. But that was Division III back in 2015. So, obviously you're not going to have – there's not a whole lot of commonalities there with players and maybe even coaches for that matter. But Central Catholic they haven't been able to get out of Region 6 until this year. They've been running into either Avon Lake or Avon, and they haven't been able to get past them until this year. So if you're looking at it from that perspective, I mean, this is going to be a really good game. Two powerhouse parochial schools from the Akron and Toledo area. This game will be played on Thursday night at 7 p.m. This will be the primetime game for Thursday night. It's the only game, the only state championship being contested on Thursday night. The rest of them are Friday and Saturday. All right.
Hey, real quick before we move on, of like backtracking real quick, Division I, because this is the second year in a row that we're having the same matchup, and I just kind of quickly went back in a history for the Division I championship, and the last time that two teams have met back-to-back years, St. Ed's was actually involved. It was actually 2014, 2015. Ed's actually played Huber Heights in back-to-back years. And Ed's won both of those. So I just wanted to throw that quick nugget in there while you guys were talking, because this doesn't happen very often that we thought, but it just happened relatively recently. Back to you, Ed.
Fantastic. Best of the biz. Those broadcasting classes have really paid off for you.
Well, I figured I'd put forth a good effort with that since my little spot on Division I didn't go too well. I had some technical difficulties, so I figured I'd step my game up and put a good effort somewhere else.
There you go.
I like it. Fair enough. Boy, let's see here. I was looking for we have the Division I and Division II games. Oh boy, I hope this didn't mess up.
There we go. I put forth a good effort and I still ruined everything.
No, this is on me. If what I put together didn't actually save, because that would really piss me off. Let's see here. Oh no, we're good. Okay.
All right, good effort.
There we go. All right, let's get the PowerPoint back up. A little bit behind the curtain here. I'm no longer operating off of the multiple screens that I once enjoyed. Had some technological changes at my place of employment, and I need to get that back up and running. That's neither here nor there, and that's no one's problem except for mine. So
sounds like we need to set up a GoFundMe account for another piece of technological equipment for.
No, I didn't. IT just needs to. I need to get with IT and be more. I just need to get back with IT on that one.
Yeah, I'll contact them after the show.
I will get with them tomorrow. Anyways, okay. Division III, the Division III state semifinals saw the Division III Region 9 champion, the Canfield Cardinals, who slayed the dragon that is Chardon. They took on the Division III Region 10 champions, the Great Lakes Conference East champions, and the Great Lakes Conference champion, holy name Green Wave. We talked to Coach Wondolowski, Javon Williams last week. We've also talked with Austin Wondolowski and Christian Sanchez in weeks past. And for this one, Canfield really took it to holy name. It started out with a 50-yard touchdown run from Indiana recruit Brock Lowry. That was just 90 seconds into the game. But holy name answered. Javon Williams scored from 6 yards out to tie the game at 7. And after that, it was an avalanche of Cardinals, mostly Lowry. Lowry countered with a 24-yard touchdown run for a 14-7 Canfield lead after the first quarter. In the second quarter, Lowry struck again. from 75 yards out, and then also from 5 yards out. He had 4 touchdowns in the first quarter and almost 200 yards rushing on the ground. This dude was an absolute beast. So it's 28-7 at the half. They had 4 possessions. They scored 4 touchdowns, and Holy Name unfortunately just was not able to keep up. Canfield kicker Joe Myasik connected on a 31-yard field goal to extend the lead to 31-7 in the third quarter. Holy Name showed the fight that we're used to seeing of them all year. They scored 2 touchdowns in the second half to bring the score to 31-21. It was a 1-yard touchdown rush, and then also a double pass from Javon Williams to Andrew Cole, who then found Kevin Pavanka for a 75-yard touchdown pass, with just about halfway through the fourth quarter that brought the lead to 31-21. So Holy Name had the momentum, and they really needed to get a stop. Unfortunately, they could not get that stop. Holy Name, or Canfield, was able to drive the field. They took a lot of time off the clock, and it ended with a 1-yard touchdown run by Danny Inglis, and that made up the final score. Canfield 38, Holy Name 21. Lowry, again, an Indiana University commit, he rushed for 226 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also threw for 105 yards. So he's about as dual threat as it gets. Those are the numbers we're used to seeing from Javon Williams. Danny Inglis, he rushed for another 125 yards on 19 carries and also added that score. For Holy Name, Javon Williams, he ran all over Padua last week. He just couldn't get it going this week. He had just 75 yards on 21 carries. In talking and looking at the article again from Cleveland.com, they do a very good job with the recaps as well. So credit to Cleveland.com there. Coach Wondolowski lamented a couple missed opportunities. And in a state semifinal game, it is about doing the little things and playing mistake-free football. And Canfield certainly made them pay for any mistakes that may have been made. With that, their season ends. A historic season. It's the first time in 47 years that they advanced to the state semifinal round. They end their season at 11-3, and again, they were they were division champions, they were conference champions, and regional champions. Being able to hang up 3 banners in one season is a very good season. So, congratulations to the Holy Name Green Wave. What a season! And we look forward to seeing how they'll reload next year as they move on. Canfield improves to 13-1, and they will take on Bloom Carroll, who defeated Tippecanoe. Sean, I think you have a little bit more insight on this game, just based on your experience with that area. What do you got from this one?
Yeah, from all accounts, Bloom Carroll just really took it to Tippecanoe pretty early, pretty often. They kind of ran away and hid with this game. It really wasn't close. Bloom Carroll is really impressive on the ground running the ball, but they could also toss the ball around the yard as well. Hats off to Tippecanoe to making it to the state semifinals here. But unfortunately, when you get to this part of the season and this level of competition, as Coach Wondolowski mentioned, as every coach mentioned, you can't allow teams to get on a roll. You can't make mistakes. You can't shoot yourself in the foot, and you got to make sure you're capitalizing. And unfortunately, Tippecanoe was not able to do that in the state semifinals. They fall 35-12 to Bloom Carroll, which sets up the Division III state championship, we'll see Canfield taking on Bloom Carroll. That game will be Friday at 3 p.m. This Friday at 3 p.m. As always, as usual, at Canton Hall of Fame Stadium, Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio. How do you like that? I can sell the promos, guys.
There we go. He is the best promo man in the biz for us, for sure.
Sure.
And for Canfield, this will be the first time I think they've gotten to this far since the 2005 season, which I believe they won the state championship that year. They've been wrestling with Chardon for the better part of the last half decade. They've lost multiple times to Chardon in the playoffs, and they finally were able to get past them. And then we see what happens once they're able to get past Chardon. They did some damage in the state semifinals, and without knowing too much about Bloom Carroll, Sean can provide maybe a little more insight there. But Canfield, I mean, they got two really good players. Brock Lowry is no joke. As Holy Name found out, Danny Inglis, he scored the game winner against Chardon 2 weeks ago, and he had the game clinching score this past week against Holy Name. So it's gonna be a tough battle for Canfield against Bloom Carroll. But being that no other teams really outside Division III, Region 9 have seen Canfield in quite some time, I think Bloom Carroll's gonna be pretty impressive when they put the tape on.
Absolutely, I think it's gonna be a pretty good game. But I got a feeling that Canfield is riding that high right now. I mean, like you said, Ed, they've been dealing and fighting with Chardon for the last half decade. They finally slayed that dragon. They exercised some demons against Holy Name last week. I think Canfield's on a roll. But again, I don't know. I'm like you. I don't know a lot about this Bloom Carroll team, but they better bring their A game, because I think the Cardinals are coming for that state championship this week.
And yeah, absolutely, Sean, absolutely. So again, that game will be played on that's a Friday night. That's a Friday game, I believe, at 3. If you mentioned that, if I had that correctly. Again,
Friday at 3 p.m.
Friday at 3 p.m. again at Tom Betson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio. All right, the last game, the last region we have, or last division, sorry, is Division 4, the state semifinals. For one, it was Cincinnati, Wyoming, the number two ranked team in the state. They get a 32-20 victory over Steubenville. So Cincinnati, Wyoming will advance. They remain undefeated. I believe they're 15-0 at the moment. So they're wrecking some house there. And then as the aforementioned Glenville Tarblooders, they took on Jefferson area. Muted myself. They took on the Falcons there, and this game was not close.
Nope.
I, out of respect to Jefferson area, I'm gonna refuse to say the phrase that we usually say in these situations, because they made it to the state semifinal round. They had to have done. They beat some good teams to get to this round, so they deserve all the respect here. But Glenville rushed out to a 36-0 halftime lead. They had 154 yards and 3 touchdowns from Deshaunte Jones. He was a relative of former Glenville and Ohio State national champion quarterback Cardale Jones. So that was all in the first half, mind you. He didn't even play in the second half. Deontay Rucker had touchdown passes to Malik Heron and Demarion Witten. He also ran for a score. Glenville piled up 490 yards of total offense, 306 of which was on the ground. For Jefferson area, their all-district quarterback, Grant Hedgecock, had just 57 yards of total offense. He could not get it going on the ground or through the air. He did score later in the game once after the outcome was decided. He did score on a 40-yard touchdown pass from Cage Boxar in the second half to break the shutout. But this game was all about Glenville, and they get a 52-7 victory over Jefferson area. Jefferson area, yeah, they had 26 players for this game. I'm not sure that's how they normally roll, but it was definitely noted in the Cleveland.com article here. But they went through a tough region to get to this point. If you're a regional champion, you're a good team. This score doesn't change that. And Glenville was very respectful of Hitchcock and of Jefferson area even after the game. After the scoreboard was very slighted in their favor, Glenville certainly showed Jefferson area the respect that they deserved for getting this far. For Glenville, they improved to 14-0, and they will take on Cincinnati, Wyoming for the state championship. This game will be played on Saturday. That's a Saturday game there. Glenville is looking for their first state championship in school history. That would also represent the first football state championship in Cleveland Municipal School District history. This has been something that Glenville, that I think Coach Ginn and even some of the former players that have been coming back. There's a really nice article at Cleveland.com about Glenville. They've had support from Cardale Jones, from Ted Ginn Jr. Some of the other alumni that are coming back to follow them on this run. So this carries a lot of significance, and Coach Ginn has certainly imparted that on his players. And they're ready for it. And this game is certainly going to be no joke, though. Cincinnati, Wyoming is a very, very good team. They're 15-0 for a reason. But it's going to be but this game's going to be it's going to be a good game. Again, we don't know too much about Wyoming, other than the fact that they have just wrecked house this year as well. Their playoff run has been pretty solid. Their closest game was the game against Steubenville, but they were throwing shutouts for the most part up until this round, just like Glenville was. We will be talking with the Elyria Catholic head coach Brian Fox here in about 10 minutes. As much as as much as we want to talk about the season, I am interested in just having seen them up close and personal, just how daunting of an opponent they really are. We obviously have heard about them for a long time, but until you see it in person, I don't think you really get a true understanding of how good Glenville is, especially now that they're 2 years removed from the COVID year, when all their players were not able to play for Glenville. A lot of them transferred to surrounding schools that were playing football. Shaw and Euclid were the beneficiaries of that. Shaw had a really good year in the COVID year. They won a couple playoff. They won at least a playoff game or two because they had some young Glenville guys that weren't able to play for Glenville. So the fact that they were able to put that back together in just 2 years and really just pick up where they left off is impressive.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, Glenville, they're just rolling in this playoff. And actually, in the beginning of the season, they had some close games. You remember they beat Avon 27-21, Olentangy Liberty 20-14. And in these playoffs, there haven't been a close game other than Van Wert at 42-33. So if I'm other teams, I might get that film and say, what did Van Wert do to be successful offensively? Because they put up 33 against Glenville, which is no easy feat to do, but so far they've just been dominant in playing these teams. And obviously, I mean, like you said, Ed, I'm interested to talk to Coach Fox and see what he went up against with this Glenville team, because they are just dominant on all phases, offensively just impressive, and they haven't given up very many points. So they even had obviously, they've given up, I think their lowest was Bellevue, 6 points. So they about, 4 games in these playoffs, they've given up 8 or less points. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and looking at Cincinnati, Wyoming, Ed, you mentioned how, shutouts were the name of the games. And we watched all year a really dominant defense in Highland Hornets. But Cincinnati, Wyoming, including the playoffs, they've had 10 shutouts out of their 15 games. The most points they've given up was this past game, where they've given up, 20 points to Steubenville. So other than that, it's been pretty dominating performance from their defense, and their offense putting up no less than, with the exception of the playoff game against Taft, where they only won 7-0. It's been 23 or more points per game all season. So it's going to be a tough task for Glenville, but they've had a very excellent year. They've got a lot of talented players, and there's a lot riding on this for them. And I think there's like you mentioned, a lot of significance, it being the first, if they can win the first state championship for a Cleveland public school, is a very, very huge deal. So, good luck to Glenville. I know the whole city of Cleveland and surrounding areas are rooting for them to take it home for Cleveland.
And what better way than to watch them on prime time Saturday night, 7:30.
Yep.
I think it's on Spectrum, right? All the games are on Spectrum.
Yep.
Spectrum. If you don't have Spectrum, if you don't have Spectrum, go to a bar that has Spectrum and sit there and watch Glenville versus Cincinnati, Wyoming. I agree with all you guys. I think Glenville is just too well coached, too talented. I don't know a lot about Cincinnati, Wyoming. I'm taking nothing away, but everything we've seen from Glenville, it's just been really impressive with their team and how well they're playing, and they're clicking at the right time. Would I be shocked if a Cincinnati, Wyoming team played the game of their life and beat a Glenville? No, I would not. But again, I like Glenville in this. I think they got a lot. I think they have too much talent on both sides of the ball and they're too well coached and disciplined to allow that to happen. So I really look for Glenville to come away here with this win and get the first state championship for Cleveland Public School. I think that's a great story. And again, taking nothing away from Wyoming and how great of a season they have, but hey, this is the primetime Saturday night game, so
Let's
that's why
go.
it's there. Let's go.
Yeah, and Ed and Sean, sorry, you did mention Spectrum TV. If you have Spectrum, you can watch all these games. Also, if you go to the OHSAA .tv, they all have box casts for each of the games. So if you do want to watch any of these games, you can pay $9.99 to watch a game. And I think for this game,
$9.99.
along with some of the other games you talked about, it's going to be a purchase well worth it if you like high level high school football.
High octane football for Glenville. It's high octane.
The division, I think I misspoke earlier. The Division I state championship game will also be at 7:30 on Friday night. I think I said it was 7. So that's at 7:30 as well. The Division II game on Thursday is at 7 p.m. So the primetime games, both Friday and Saturday night, start at 7:30 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. Let's quickly get to the rest of the divisions here. We do have we're gonna have Ironton taking on Canfield South Range. That game will also be played. That game will be played at
Friday at 10:30.
Friday at 10:30. Yep. Ironton is and both these teams are 15-0. I don't know much about either of these teams, quite honestly. But tell you what, it's looking to be a good year for Canfield between Canfield and Canfield South Range. They got 2 good looks at the state championship here, so real good, potentially real good outcome for Canfield coming up here this weekend. And then for Division 6, we do have a local school here. It's gonna be Kirtland. They return to Division 6 and they return to the state championship game. They will be taking on an absolute juggernaut themselves, Maria Stein, Marion Local. It doesn't get much better than these two teams when you're talking about small division football. And I say small division only in number only. These are teams that can probably easily play Division 2, maybe in Division 1 schools and do some damage. I believe we've seen Kirtland in the COVID year. They took out some Division 1 schools that we cover.
Solon, yeah, they beat Solon.
And they beat Solon and Shaker Heights, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So we know they can do it because they have. Kirtland returns to Division 6 after a 1 year after spending last year in Division 5, where they shockingly lost the state championship to
Versailles.
I don't want to mispronounce it. I knew it was Versailles. I didn't want to
Great
say
effort. Great
I didn't want to
effort.
say it wrong. There we go. Thank you. But I think this is a classic case of the immovable object against the irresistible force. This is going to be an awesome game. It doesn't get much better than these two teams. Tiger Laverty hoping to add on to that championship cabinet that they have. This game will be played Saturday morning at 10:30 a.m. Both teams are 15-0. Last and certainly not least, Division 7. This game will be played. Looks like this was going to be
Saturday at
3 p.m. Saturday at 3 p.m. It'll be at the number 7 seed New Bremen. They are 12-3. They're going to take on the number 1 seeded Warren JFK. They did win Region 25, I believe, in Division 7. They are 13-1. Again, I'm not too familiar with these teams. My wife's alma mater was in Division 7, Region 25. They ended up losing in the second round. They would have eventually run into Warren JFK, though, had they gotten that far, and JFK just ran roughshod over that region. So, again, this game will be played Saturday at 3 p.m. The number 7 seed from their region, New Bremen, 12-3, will take on the number 1 seed Warren JFK, 13-1. And that's what we have for that's it. That's our last recap of the season, unfortunately for us. And just what a great season it's been for our teams. Again, I mean, we've look at this. Noah's here. Here we go.
Noah's back.
Noah's back. He's back from assignment, so that worked out pretty well. I'm glad you're here, Noah. welcome.
Thanks, guys.
We just went over all of the we went over the Holy Name game. That was the only game that we had. We also talked about Glenville. We talked about St. Ed's, and we covered the Division II games as well a little bit, and just talked about all the state finals matchups here. So we have a lot of as we're kind of winding down here. 16 weeks is now down to 1. All the games are going to be on Spectrum, as well as we mentioned earlier. Again, they start Thursday night at 7, and they're going to go all day Friday and all day Saturday, all from Canton, Ohio. If you're a fan of high school football and you happen to have one of those days off, I highly recommend going down and watching. Get down there for the early game, go grab some lunch, check out the next game, maybe get a light dinner, and go watch the last game. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that if you're a high school football fan. So we'll be talking here with Coach Fox here in a minute. Let me mention our sponsors here again while we wait for him. Again, we have GV Art and Design. That's gvartwork.com. Again, use the promo code ONTAP10 to get 10% off of your order. G&G Fitness Equipment. Make sure you visit them at livefit.com. You can also catch them on Twitter at G&G Fitness EQ. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. That's www.rrt-productions.com. Bandwagon Fantasy Sports. BandwagonFantasySports.com. Again, it's a different take on fantasy. You draft in college teams instead of drafting players. Hop on the bandwagon early in the season. So the season's just about to wrap up here soon, but we'll certainly hope to get to know them a little bit more in the upcoming seasons, and really promote that product a little bit more as well. And then last and certainly not least, Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance. He operates out of beautiful Hudson, Ohio. You can catch him at 234-284-2996. Also 5603 Darrow Road, Suite 500 in Hudson, Ohio, 44236. Ray Felton is not only friend of show, but also friend of ours from high school. So make sure you call him for a quick quote on all insurance, and see where else he can save you money on as well.
Yeah, and I can vouch for Ray Felton State Farm. He is my insurance agent, and I had a little fender bender not too long ago during the summer. Helped out really nice, fast, easy process, no issues, no complaints. I'm glad that he has joined. I have joined his insurance company, and I'm glad he became a part of Sports on Tap. Little kind of a good promo for Ray.
Look at that testimonial.
Testimonial.
All because Josh can't drive. This worked out really well.
You know what? I was just gonna say the same thing. It's a very easy process. It's a process you don't want to go through, which is fantastic. Which is the best kind of a testament to Ray's process and the State Farm people there. If you have to go through it, you want to go through it with a good guy like Ray, definitely.
As Josh would say, it was their fault, though. It was their fault.
No, it was the stop sign's fault. It was.
I've driven with Josh before. I don't know.
That stop sign comes out of nowhere sometimes. Hey, so we're waiting on Coach Brian Fox from Elyria Catholic here. Just to recap their season. I mean, they had a great. They ran undefeated in the West Division of the Great Lakes Conference. Their only losses were to Sandusky Perkins, which was a fabulous game up in Sandusky. They were stopped short on a 2-point conversion to win the game, and then they ran into an absolute buzzsaw in Holy Name in the Great Lakes Conference Championship game. Holy Name got a look at them earlier in the season during a crossover game, and unfortunately for Elyria Catholic, they weren't able to get the second victory over them, but they did do some pretty good work in Division 4, Region 14. It was interesting because they haven't, they jumped up a division. They were in Division 5, Region, I believe, 18 last year, and they made it to the regional championship. And unfortunately, if I remember correctly, the COVID year, they were the unfortunate recipient of a forfeit. I think they were going to play Oak Harbor in the round, and they were not able to play that game, which is about as heartbreaking as it possibly gets. to not lose a game on the field, and I think we made that pretty clear, especially last year, in that they were not out of the playoffs by anybody. They hadn't lost a playoff game on the field in a couple of years. But looking at Division 4, Region 14, it was going to be tough sledding for them, regardless. With with Glenville in there, it's just we've seen what kind of team Glenville is. It was going to be tough for them to. I think it was going to be tough for them to overcome. Just what we know about Glenville. We know the athletes that they have between Brady Cook, Levi Ellis, obviously the Golden Helmet winner as the top senior player in Lorain County, which I believe went to Tommy Beebe last year from. No, that wouldn't have been it. Rocky Rivers and Cuyahoga. Anyways, Levi Ellis probably could have won it as a junior. He may be able to win it as a freshman. That's how good he was. Tavion Thomas, we've had him on the show as well. Just being able to for him to focus on the defensive end more the offensive end was had to have been a big coup for Coach Fox, knowing that Tavion really wasn't as concerned with getting the rushes and the carries, and could really focus his efforts on defense, while Levi Ellis could break all the records he could possibly break, score the touchdowns, but also play tough defensively. In Division 4, you have to play both ways for the most part. And it's quite honestly, it's a world that me, Josh, and Rob don't know too much about because we played at Brunswick and we didn't really have to do that. So it's just a testament to those players, the fitness level they play in, the level of skill to be able to succeed on both sides of the ball. It's something that you can't overstate. And looks like I think Coach Fox is about to join us here shortly. So we'll look forward to talking to him about that. And just really what else they have in the hopper. Hector Garcia got a good amount of time, kind of splitting with Brady Cook. So I'm interested in Coach Fox's thoughts on that as well. Think about it. If you're able to kind of groom your future quarterback while having a successful year, along with your senior quarterback, that's about as best case scenario as it possibly can get, as we've seen with some of the other teams in the coverage area. Probably the best example of that we have used time and time again is Jacob Snow and Scotty Fox at Menor, where Coach Gray turned Scotty Fox into a receiver, and Jacob Snow
turned Jacob
Snow. Sorry, my fault. Jacob Stowe went from being the starting quarterback to a receiver, and turned in a very, very good year. It was really kind of able to unlock that offense a little bit, which hopefully we'll talk to Coach Gray about coming up here soon as well. So we see the head popping up here, and we'll.
That's a fine picture Coach Fox has.
Yes.
And we'll wait.
He's on mute, but I'll do we'll get the introduction going here, though. So we're about to be joined by Elyria Catholic Panthers head coach Brian Fox. A very successful year for the Elyria Catholic Panthers again. They finished the year 11-3. They finished the regular season at 8-2. They were the Great Lakes Conference champions from the West Division, and then they also made a very, very good run in the Division 4 Region 14 playoffs, coming off of a even more successful run in the Division 5 Region 18 playoffs from last year as well. See, we got Coach Fox on here.
There he is.
Oh. Hey, Coach, how are you today?
Living the dream, man. How are you?
We're good. Technology and such.
Oh my God! It was just like I immediately signed on, and it was the computer was telling me that I needed to update, so I got on my phone, and of course I moved it one way, and it wouldn't rotate with me, so then we got it here.
Tell you what, Coach, I'm a big fan of the shirt you have on. I'm a special teams guy, so I very much appreciate the love for the special teams there.
Absolutely. You guys probably remember from my days as the backup long snapper. Was,
even better.
Yeah, exactly.
So you need to have the long snapping game is important. The Browns drafted one, so that's
Brian, right?
Yes, yeah, from Rice University back in the early 2000s.
That's a throwback name right there.
That is a throwback name. That also speaks to how bad the Browns have been if we're remembering snappers. But
Yeah, absolutely.
That's neither here nor there. Coach Fox, thanks for taking the time to join us tonight. I know obviously you'd rather be preparing for a state championship game, but nonetheless, you guys had an awesome season. Division champions in the Great Lakes Conference. You guys made a pretty good run in Division 4, Region 14, coming off a very successful run in Division 5, Region 18 last year. So talk about the season and see talk about some of the players that we're going to be losing and who's going to be coming back.
It was an incredible year. We had a lot of amazing seniors come up, and this was kind of the one of those years where you sit there and look at all the seniors you have, the leaders you have, and I want to say we had 9 of these seniors start as sophomores. 5 of them actually that started didn't play football in 8th grade. So we were like really, this was it was coming off of 2 straight. I think we had 7 kids, 1 freshman class and 8 another. And then we kind of brought in 22, 25 kids, a whole bunch of great football players, but we really had to kind of mine the CYO basketball field. There's some where, there was, Levi, we obviously he's a phenomenal player. We really lucked out with, I met him one day when he came to Shadow, and, I knew he was good. And, I was friends with one of the guys that kind of heads up the Mini Pioneers. And he was one of the people saying that, he may come onto your team as a freshman and be the best player you have. He didn't know we had a kid committed to Pitt at that moment, but, eventually he probably proved to be very, very intelligent. But a lot of the kids, we had a few others come from areas around. I know Brady Cook was a all-state quarterback for us. He came from North Ridgeville Public, and but a lot of it was just going out there, watching CYO basketball and trying to figure out which one of these basketball players could play football. And there's so many, great stories. I remember sitting there watching, I think Kellen Amador was on one of the teams, and he was a 2-time captain for us. He played guard. I remember talking to him, and he asked his dad in 8th grade, when he decided to play football, because he'd never played before. I remember he told me he asked his dad, what position do I tell them? He's like, well, tell them guard and nose tackle. He goes, what does that even mean? He had no clue. Ended up being all district guard for us. And on that same team, I remember Tony Grasso. Tony Grasso had never played football before. He's just this crazy little kid. And I'm just sitting there at the scores table with Cam Ingrish, who was a all-state quarterback, and Luke Constantino, who's playing Division II college football right now at Hillsdale. And I just remember Tony Grasso went out and did something, and I was like, "Oh, that's a technical." And then Luke was like, "That's going to be a second technical." I'm like, "Oh no, this is about to get interesting." And they stopped the game to basically say, "Hey, you're going to get ejected." And I went up to him and talked to him. I remember asking if he'd ever played football before. And he said, no. And I was like, Tony, I don't know if you realize that you're playing basketball, but you're a linebacker. And he ended up being a 2-time first. Oh, he'll be, I have no doubt that he had 11 sacks and 22 tackles for a loss this year. So I have no doubt he's going to be a 2-time first team All-State kid for us. And then you got someone like Colin Ginley. I remember Colin Ginley scored 27 of his team's first points, like literally 27 straight into the 3rd quarter. And I remember at one point, I'm like, who is this kid? And, we're just sitting here. It's like, he's got to be about 5'11" right now. He's got long arms. He's scoring every point. And I remember I said it loud enough. His dad was actually sitting behind me. He goes, oh, that's my son. I'm like, shut up. This is a wide receiver. Like, I mean, he has a great future at wide receiver and DB. And, the list goes on and on. We had such phenomenal players. The Thomas Nieders, again, he was a 3-year starter for us, didn't play football in 8th grade either. Travis Merrill may be one of the funniest ones, where he comes in 5'8", 140. And, we had him at linebacker, and we didn't have an offensive position at him, so we just threw him in an O-line. and he goes home for COVID and comes back, and he's 6'3", 250, and he's this unblockable force. Ends up, I think, in his last 2 years, he probably had 65 tackles for loss. And there's just all these kids where you wonder how do you replace someone like that? And it's really tough because they bought in. They built this program. They built such a wonderful legacy. And I know I'm missing out on so many seniors that deserve so much credit. I mean, you got Evan Smith again. Like, Evan Smith comes in. I'm like, dude, do you want to play running back? And he goes, I was thinking more center. And he ends up being a 3-year starter at right tackle for us. And I'm sitting here like wondering, like, dude, you could probably play running back. I think you play running back. Just watch him play basketball. And it's wild to think that you could take that class of kids and compete for a conference championship against the team that I think made it to the regional semifinals or finals in Holy Name. You compete with them, you beat them once, and then you things fall off the railings for you, but you're able to compete at a very high level. And we ran into a buzzsaw with Glenville. That's, you play 3 Division I players all year, and then you go play Glenville, and there's 3 of them been offered by Ohio State, and I think it was 11 more that were offered. So it was just, I still feel like I remember them being Division I with Dante Whitner and Troy Smith. So that was that's an incredible program, and there's not much you can do with that. But when you look at what you have coming back, you have 2 starters on the offensive line who've been very good, and Jackson Smith and Kyle Fairbanks. Kyle really came on this year. It was his first year starting, but I think he can be a very, very good guard for us. He has a nasty streak to him, and he's a very strong kid and very driven. I know he'd come in, he'd lift in the morning, then he'd go to baseball, and then he'd do T3 at night. And then you have Jackson Smith, who started every game since, I believe, the 6th game of his freshman year. And he's really starting to look the part. He's really growing. He's had 2 major injuries he's had to bounce back from that made him lose a whole bunch of weight. But he's about 6'3" right now, 250 pounds, very athletic, and ended up being an incredible offensive lineman. We had wide receiver. We had guys like Mason Halliburton really step up and be a real threat with the ball in his hands. Connor Petrus is a junior coming up. He ended up playing a whole lot of football for us. I was probably one of the fastest kids on the team. We have 3 running backs you didn't see any of because of 3 seniors that deserved a whole lot of credit. But Rocco DeMartinez, Malachi Johnson, and Jaden Ramos are going to be 3 special running backs for us that I think can do a whole lot. You saw a little bit of Hector Garcia, got a big old arm. You saw Brady Angle, who was actually another quarterback who could be a very special player for us. I think his brother was All-State at Clearview. And his other brother, I think, was also All-State at Clearview, just at running back. But he started at corner for us as well. You had Graydon Rollins. I mean, he put up phenomenal numbers. I think he ended with double digits TFLs and I think 8 sacks. So between him and, a few others, there's a lot of promise. There's a lot of talented kids, but it's going to be hard to replace all those seniors.
Yeah, to that point, Coach, talk about, you're going to CYO basketball games and trying to get in some players and everything like that, but talk about your coaching staff and the guys that you brought in and have assembled to really develop that culture and develop those players that, came in not even, knowing what the center was or what a position was, and then they're all conference and all state. Talk about just your coaches that have been able to develop these players.
I think it's got to start with Cody Reeser because he was there day one. I mean, he was actually the interim head coach between moving on from the previous coach and hiring me, and he ended up being our defensive coordinator, and he was young, and he really allowed me to mingle too much, I guess, in defense. As despite my background in offense, I played defense in college for the brief time I was healthy enough to, and then helped out and coached a little bit there. And, so he kind of allowed me to give the bones and the structures, and he has really run with it. It went from, I still remember his first game. I remember walking up to him, like, "What'd you call there?" And he told me what he called him. Like, "You don't have a CGAP player." And he went from figuring it out and learning the ropes to the last few weeks between him and Roger Angle as somebody who's had a very long career coaching, and he's been all over. He was at Clearview in the past, and he's actually the father of Brady Angle, and those two really took the defense and ran with it, and it seemed like one of those things where I could finally step back and kind of allow them to operate, allow them to do their thing, and they seem to have an incredible handle on what they're doing, and a lot of it was in the years and their preparation, and then them going out and learning the offense. And I'll jump in with some things that I'll be the first to tell you, probably won us a few games defensively, and just like things like I know how, like, this is what's going to screw with his zone scheme, his gap scheme, all that. And they were all like, "Oh my gosh, you're so smart," and I was like, "I know," but those guys were phenomenal. We were able to add 2 Kirsch's alum from the staff who also joined me in being bodies on the road for Ross Holman to win a state championship at Coldwater back in 2005. But Drew Kirsch is our offensive line coach. He's an incredibly intelligent player. A coach he played at BW, went on to have a pro career in the Arena League, and he came back to us in between him and his brother, who again also played at Baldwin Wallace. He was a linebacker. He had he's the defensive line coach. Those two have been able to come in and really bring about a lot of experience, but a lot of tradition that really makes Elyria Catholic so special. And they take an incredible amount of care in doing the small things. There's so many times where I have no clue where something is, but it's because Drew came in early and he reorganized and cleaned up the office. And you come in and Adam has a whole bunch of ideas, and he's sending me podcasts and all this stuff on small things that can help us teach the 3 technique to how to better handle the down blocking. Between him and the offensive line staff, we've been able to bring in with Coach Reichley, who has just I want to say about 70 years of experience between his time with Coach McFarland and being all-state at Elyria Catholic, and Sean Decker, who played for me and came back and coached, and Greg Smith, who was incredible in helping us along the way, and he coached all these kids from the youth league on up, and he's definitely looks the part, and he provided us an incredible son to be our left tackle. But he's done a phenomenal job in working with these kids as well, especially the contributions to working with the younger players. But we've had so many. I know Coach Jordan Connell, he was all state at Elyria. He's been a phenomenal coach for us at wide receiver. He's just got the head job as the baseball coach at Elyria, and Connor Rydell, and I'm gonna miss a bunch of names, but the coaching staff is such an important part of what makes this an enjoyable experience for the kids.
Yeah, and I think
Coach, you mentioned. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Sean. Go ahead, Sean.
I was going to say you mentioned the tradition and really the fervor that your the fan support at Elyria Catholic, and I can attest to it because when I covered a game, I covered the Holy Name game, and you guys, I mean, that was crazy. My son is and I'm going to throw this out there. My son is a St. Jude Jaguar, and he went to one high school football game this year, and it was an Elyria Catholic game, and he was pumped because he saw that there was ball boys, and he wants to figure out how to be a ball boy. And I said, well, you can't run onto the field with the ball, because he would do that. And secondly, what he noticed was how, like, you guys just seem every year to have an atmosphere at that stadium, whether you guys are up, down, whatever, just the constant fan support. And you talk about how that has progressed since you've been there. Is that something that you're constantly having to, not constantly, but you're seeing, increase with the success, or has it kind of always been the bedrock of that program?
Oh, I think it's always been the bedrock of it. And if he wants to be a ball boy, he's always invited. All you got to do is give me a heads up beforehand and have him come see me, and we'll make that happen.
Okay.
But
Nice.
Nice.
oh,
You don't
absolutely.
know what you're
And
getting
if he
into,
wants
Coach.
to run on the field, honestly, I can't. If he does, I don't care. Like, what are you gonna do? Yell at the ball boy? He can do whatever.
He's
he
a
wants.
big kid. He might knock you over. But
Yeah. Just give him a cute little kid smile, like I'm sorry, and everyone's like, "Ah, it's fine." Yeah, especially if he sees something bad happening on the field, he can totally run on the field. No one's gonna yell at him.
Yeah.
But it's definitely been the bedrock of the program. And I remember I started here, and I the first thing I did, I kind of reached out to important people within the program, and some parents and things like that. And I still remember this to this day. Like, we had incredible calls, and then one guy said, man, I don't know how you're going to do this. I feel like that school's going under. I feel like it's dying off. I don't know how. Good luck to you. I hope you do it, but I don't know how you're going to do it. And I remember thinking, like, oh, that doesn't feel great. But at the same time, it was, if he had experienced the calls that I had previously, it was just person after person lending their support. You have the incredible alum. Like, I remember Matt Wilhelm, he said something. I like, all I could think was like, don't sound like an idiot, but once he's done talking, you got to tell him about how many national titles you won on NCAA, the video game with him, between him and C. Grant, and like that incredible defense. And yeah, you're almost in awe of this guy who is just telling you, like, hey, I'd love to come in and speak at the camps and do whatever I can. And I'm just like, dude, you have a national title ring, a Super Bowl championship. It's incredible. Like, the support has always been there. When they talk about loyalty that never dies, it's a real thing. And you get it in what you experience of the game. And you go to that Elyria game, and it's constant messages throughout the day wishing us luck, and the incredible support. And you have the crazy fans that are so on edge. They're matching my dad's intensity, because I remember I used to like play basketball, and my dad's the only one I can hear. Like, he's screaming at the refs. I'm like, oh, you need to stop. But it is like 5,000 strong in the stands, also screaming. It's wild. You score a touchdown. I still remember my first year. We're playing Anna, and Anna's the number 1 team on Drew Pastor's list for division. We were 5 at the time, and we go toe to toe with them. It's amazing game, and with 45 seconds, we go up one, or they go up one with a 2-point conversion. And I'm yelling, like, I'm excited. I'm like, guys, it's an opportunity. Let's go. But in my mind, I'm like, it's been a great season. We had a home playoff game. We fought. It was great. And then all of a sudden, you get Chris Jackson bust off a great kickoff return to the 40, and Cam English completes, I want to say, a pass to Connor Trockley on a crosser, and another pass to Jarrett France on a deep out. And then all of a sudden, we were in our juggernaut formation the whole game, and he completes a pass to Jarrett France to the 2-yard line. And I remember screaming to get Juggernaut back on the field. And, you go back and watch it, and you turn the audio on, and you get the radio playback. And I've never felt more hopeless as a coach in my life, because I could not hear myself screaming the formation. And I'm like, the clock is going to start ticking. We got to get everybody on there. If we don't score on this first play, I didn't think we had a timeout at that point. But, like, you see it in the stands. Like, there's some guy, I just still remember, his hands go up, and his hands are on his head, and he's, like, looking around. And, it was from that moment, like, it was the most wild atmosphere I've ever been around. And, it was that kind of set a tone of, this is what you can expect. This is the following you have, and this is the support you have in the stands.
Well, I think we've seen your success, obviously, with the alumni coming back and the support from the fans. You guys have consistently had a solid program all around, whether it's the kids, the coaching, the stability there has been there year in and year out. You guys made it to the playoffs this year. You guys faced a tough Glenville team. Glenville's now in the state championship game. What can you tell us from your experience of playing Glenville this year? What kind of experience did you have playing them? Because obviously they have a ton of very athletic kids that our Division I recruits, and how do you prepare for a team like that? I mean, there's weapons all over the place. It's not easy. I mean, they've been rolling in the playoffs, it seems like, over every team. They've had a close game against Van Wert, but it seems like every week they're putting up a lot of points. How do you stop a team like that?
Oh man, and it brought me back a lot to our Elyria prep, where you have a team that is insanely athletic, insanely big, an incredible offensive line, where you're not quite sure how you are going to handle that. And what we kind of did is, in both games, they're a zone scheme, and what we try to do is mess with the normal count. By doing that, we try and put in a seventh body, and you move them side to side a lot up in front of the linebackers. We had Levi Ellis, so we had him kind of moving around back and forth, because in a zone scheme, you're either going off a count or you're going off of uncovered, covered, and who are you working up to? And in either way, when you have a guy moving around constantly, you can't get a constant idea of, okay, I'm working with you, I'm working to this guy. And sorry about that. I had a little battery there, but you're constantly trying to figure out, how do I screw with their rules, and how do I make them wrong in anything they do? Because when you can't just sit there and stop them. You can't just go out there and say, oh, well, there's a semi coming. If I get real low, I'll win the leverage battle. Like, no, it's not going to go well. I drive a Ford Focus. I'm getting rolled through, So what you do is you try and screw with their rules. You gamble a little bit. You gamble with, with intent to try and get ahead of the sticks. Like, when you gamble, it has to be calculated. It has to be, I know they run on this down. I know their main play is zone schemes, and this is how you screw with a zone scheme. And then offensively, you try and distract them. You try and use speed as something that works against them. You try and, get them to get their eyes off of their normal cues. You try and control the ball. You try and bleed the clock, and you try and use some things that steal you possessions. Versus Elyria, some of the stuff worked. I remember the whole game just like staring at the clock, like, go faster. Like, we're holding on for dear life. Like, I didn't know how we could do that, but you hit a perfect storm, and it wasn't even like, I look back on, like, what could you have changed? And there were such small things. It was such isolated incidents. It was small things, like, I can't go in and talk to them like, hey, this is how their kicker kicks. They're bringing back Luke Rosa, and every once in a while they hit a perfect ball, and the other one gonna be real high. And we had 2 instances where we just judged the ball wrong and immediately gave them the ball back. And we had 2 small things go awry on a snap, and all of a sudden they get another ball inside the 20. And there's a lot of small things where I thought we did a lot of great things. We got them to 4th down so many times, and it's like, what's 4th and 15 right before half, and they throw it to that incredible athlete, that whoever that wide receiver tight end is, and he just out muscles and breaks every tackle from everybody we got. And that was a huge touchdown for them. And DB makes a great break on a ball, and we just don't come up with the interception. And there's so many things that could have, won us some possessions. And, I look back on it and think, I wish we'd have done some things to try and keep it closer. But everything we did was to try and win the game. And it just didn't go our way. So, we ended up getting blown out in a big way. But, there's some things that went right, and some gambles worked, and, some didn't. And, there were a few things that just kind of went against us. And we recovered an onside kick. We didn't end up hitting on the other one. But, when you play a team like that, you can't sit there and say, I hope we don't lose by a lot. You got to sit here and say, I'm rolling the dice, and we got to gamble, and we got to win on these gambles. We got to find the matchups and try and win those matchups. And sometimes it goes your way. And I know Van Wert did a great job, and, they had a little bit of luck with the weather, and, other times it doesn't. And all of a sudden you can't do things you've done all year. And it's a helpless feeling.
We're talking with Elyria Catholic head coach Brian Fox. There's not enough superlatives, I don't think, to talk about about Levi Ellis. We had him on our show recently. He's rushed for over 5,000 yards in his career. second all time in Lorain County history in rushing. You mentioned kind of his story and how highly regarded he came in to your program, and as long as we've been covering Elyria Catholic, he's been around, and he just continues to he's been continuing. I know he's very humble. I know he also deflects a lot of the credit to his team, which makes him not only a great teammate but a great football player, a great person, great teammate. And I think one of the other things to note, and this is an article that I happened to read a while back. You have Tavion Thomas is also a very good running back. But he was also very happy about all the success that Levi was having on the running back end, and Tavion, seemed to be more, focused a lot on the defensive end. I mean, speak to that level of buy-in, not only in the program, but the players believing in each other.
And I think one of the biggest luxury of the humble is that you're incredibly talented, And, just one quick story about Levi. I remember it was his probably fourth day with us. And I think it was, we probably barely had pads on. I remember he had a few reps and team, he was probably the third or fourth string running back at the time. And our starting center at the time, Darius Randleman, comes up to me. He goes, "Hey, coach, can he come up with us yet?" And I'm just like, dude, it's like day 4. Like he's a little kid. Like, come on now, give him some time. And lo and behold, his first game rolls around and everyone's talking about how amazing of a pitcher he is and how incredible of a running back is. And what happens is he goes out at 150 pounds. He starts his first game at linebacker and has 11 tackles and was from that moment on our best tackler for the next 4 years. So when you speak to what can't he do, it's easy. I don't want to say it's easy to be humble. It's never easy to be humble, but it's easier to be humble when you're incredibly good. But again, one of my favorite parts of the season where I noticed one of the games Tavion wasn't rotating in at running back, and keep in mind Tavion, he went out and played Elmwood the year before. Elmwood gave up 16 points to the number 1 team in the state in one of the rankings, and this is a team that had been playing incredible defense all year, and Levi's hurt. He just couldn't go. He tried, he couldn't go. And Tavion goes out and runs for 160 yards and just, I don't want to say carries the team, but man, he couldn't be stopped. And, that's a kid who ran for, I want to say 8 yards a carry this year. Might've been a little lower than that. And he had his moments where, he was the leading rusher of one of our major games versus Rocky River, where, Levi had like 20 carries for 120 yards, but Tavion had 8 carries for 127. And, that's an all-state running back that we had just sitting there. And I just remember looking out there, I was like, I haven't seen Tavion, running much. And I asked why, and he said he thought this was a game we would definitely win, and he wanted to see Levi get the record. So he told him he could take every single rep on offense that game. And it's just like that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? It's one thing to say you can take my linebacker reps, but like we're talking about getting the ball versus a team that he could go out and be an incredible force for. And, it was, it's one of the amazing things as a coach is when you sit here and you say, I have this all-state running back sitting here waiting on his opportunity. And then, Levi doesn't get hurt. So it's just like, it's like, what do you do? It's kind of the microcosm of the season this year. We were so excited about the depth we had, and then we roll into week 13 and not one person is hurt. And, but when you talk about one of the most amazing kids, we talk about, that the bell curve of where the norm fall, and we talk about bottom 10, the middle 80 and the top 10, and Tavion's your 1%er. He's going to go down as an all-time favorite of every single coach that's been around him, of every single player who's been around him, and it's because the kid was an incredibly nice person. He always had a smile on his face. He was constantly the freshman's favorite. I think he was voted the camp coach of the year 3 straight years at our youth camp. His junior year, they made a hype video for us going into his last game, and these kids are out there chanting Tavion. And, so first and foremost, he had the personality for it. And second, he had the drive. I still remember his freshman year, his dad couldn't pick him up on time. They were working. They just couldn't come grab him. So for 45 minutes, Tavion ran stairs. And he had nothing to do, so he was going to go get better. And even into his senior year, he's going out, he's grabbing freshmen and sophomores that didn't have a ride, and he made them hold bands so he could have banded runs after the lift. And, it's when you watch how he was around the team and you watch how hard he prepared for everything, and, the smile on his face was just icing on the cake when you just realize that he's just, one of the best human beings you'll ever get to coach.
Nicest kid I've ever met in Tavion Thomas, but the most violent goal line runner I've ever seen in covering games. I will never, ever forget the Bay Village game.
I knew you the Bay game.
I was at the Bay game, and I'm pretty sure that everyone in the stadium went, "Oh God," when he scored on that touchdown, because it was the loudest pop that I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
And you could hear it on the video. It was last year, and I don't like bringing it up, but it's my favorite video because he handed the ball to the referee and just jogged off, and I'm like, "You just murdered that kid." And I got the video of it, and we're just going to be okay with it. And he went back, and he's like, "I got to get ready for defense." And I'm like, "Okay, I guess that's how that kid rolls." And we had him on the next week, and he's like, "Yeah, that was a fun video." I'm like, "No, that was the best video that I've taken personally, and I want you to autograph it in some way because it was so cool."
It was a popular video, that's for sure.
Oh my goodness, man. Great players are not seen, they're heard. And that was exactly that. Like, it was one of those like pop, silence, and that moment and Jack Keneally's one-handed catch in the back of the end zone are the most like jaw-dropping moments I think I've had, where you just like, you don't know how to react. And it was, he just kind of it's exactly what you thought. Is like, he didn't realize how strong he had gotten.
No,
because the year before he broke his collarbone. Of course he was doing his sophomore year. He's doing extra routes. Kid struggled catching the ball. So he's out there doing extra routes, and he goes out, tries to dive for a catch, and breaks his collarbone. So he was 160 pounds starting a linebacker sophomore year. Junior year he comes out at 195 because he lived in the weight room, and all of a sudden he ran through the kid like he wasn't there. And it was almost like Tavion didn't expect it. And then he just went in the end zone, and, he had like a little quandary of, do I help him up or do I leave like the game? Or it's like, I got a pit bull, and sometimes she bites me and has no idea how hard that like how much that hurt until I yell, like, stop it. And it's just like that is exactly what it was. And he was just he was exactly what, because we were big into gap schemes, having to power counter and buck sweep. And he just was one of those guys where it's like, I know where the hole's going to be, and God help you if you want to meet me there.
And that's exactly what happened.
Hey, Coach, we wanted to thanks again for jumping on and talking to us about your season and some of the players, some of the stories. You guys had a great year this year. Last couple of years have been fantastic, and we're looking forward to seeing what you guys can do next year. Coming back into the Great Lakes Conference and coming back into Division IV. But congratulations on your team's success, and hope you guys have a great off season.
Hey, thank you guys so much for the coverage. Thank you for allowing me to go on and on. I don't know if you can tell, but my favorite part of this is talking about the kids. So I've truly enjoyed this, and thank you for your coverage. Like, I don't think you guys quite understand. There's a different aura behind high school football than in any other venues, and it's just like when you have the coverage and you have the people around it. And I know part of it is you guys probably still understand how special high school football is with the transfers and then the money going around with college football. High school football still full of pure, wonderful kids, and you guys help make this such an incredible environment. So thank you so much for the coverage.
Well, we appreciate it. And actually, we had somebody, Robert Asanakis, say, "Hey, Coach Brian," on our YouTube live page. So I don't know if you know him, but he's wants to say hi to you on our YouTube live.
Thank you, sir. Rob. What's up, Rob? Thank you so much. Appreciate you, man.
Well, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. Great talking to you.
Thanks, Coach.
And we'll
Thank
talk
you, Coach.
again soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful night.
You too.
You too.
Thank you. Thanks, Coach.
That is Elyria Catholic head coach Brian Fox talking about the Panthers season. Again, they were the Great Lakes Conference West Division champions this year. They won. They made it to the regional semifinals and had just had a tremendous year. So there's certainly what a great season they had. Great season for the Northeast Ohio Conference just in general. The Great Lakes Conference in general. Being able to be represented the way that they have, with both Holy Name and Elyria Catholic making pretty good runs, was great, along with the other teams as well. So that's going to wrap it up for our high school football coverage for this week. Again, all the state championship games will be played at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton, Ohio, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You can check it out on Spectrum Live. You can go to the OHSAA website. I think we're still okay. They haven't yelled at me for putting them on blast 2 weeks ago for their scheduling assignments.
Yeah,
we've been monitoring the email, Ed. We haven't gotten any email from OSHA yet.
We haven't.
Only worker safety issues, but that's on Rob, not on you.
Exactly. So we will have we're gonna have one more show of our high school football coverage. We will recap all of these state championship games right here live on Sports on Tap next Monday. We're also going to try to get a couple head coaches on from our teams to recap their seasons, much like we did with Coach Fox. So we're looking forward to that as well. But right after football, we roll right into hockey, the Great Lakes High School Hockey League.
Greater Cleveland, Ed.
Greater Cleveland High School Hockey League.
Listen, when you have the last team standing, and I've been saying the Great Lakes Conference for the better part of 20 some weeks in a row.
Not good effort, though. Not good effort.
Well, let me say this, Ed, just to piggyback on that.
Didn't have anyone to cover the last couple weeks.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Josh has been living on Easy Street for the last 2 weeks.
That's not true. Who is at those games?
Fair point.
Listen,
Moving on.
Moving on. We're gonna move on because
Fair point.
We are talking about the 2022-2023 Greater Cleveland High School Hockey League. We will be previewing the blue, the white, and the red divisions this coming Sunday, December 4th, 7 o'clock. Right?
Yep.
Yes.
7 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
And so
we're going to be live on YouTube.
Yep.
So make sure, if you want to hear coaches, we're going to have some couple coaches interviews. We're going to have breakdowns of the divisions, the changes in the divisions this year, a lot of movement. We're going to also talk to President and Executive Director Ryan Kelber about the Greater Cleveland High School Hockey League and the upcoming season. And we're going to set the stage because this year we're going big, baby. We're going to be live streaming hockey games. We're going to have, like I said, I'm going to strap GoPros to chests. I'm going to make you guys skate on the ice. Ed, we got Ed doing the play-by-play, me dropping in, trying to figure out how hockey works for the third year in a row. We're going to figure this out, guys. But it all starts this Sunday,
if anybody
December
watches,
4th at 7 p.m.
If anybody watches our live stream, this is Sean's last chance. This is his third year.
It's my third year, and I've been told that if I don't understand the game of hockey by midway through, I'm going to be relegated to holding cords for Rob during the broadcast. They're not even going to trust me with the camera.
That's
right. I'm going to start studying, I promise. But
absolutely
make sure
right,
you listen and you tune in this Sunday at 7 p.m. Make sure you subscribe, smash the like button. Make sure you get all the information you need for this upcoming hockey season because it's going to be awesome.
Well,
we're going to have the Barron Cup. Rob, who are we going to have on the show?
I have some confirmed guests right now.
Oh, we have confirmed guests.
So breaking news.
Judging off the emails, please, Rob, have at it.
Yeah, we have Ryan Kelber, obviously Sean mentioned, but we have Parma senior head coach Joe Gaudino. He'll come on. This is Parma's last year for hockey in the Greater Cleveland High School Hockey League. For right now, I believe they're condensing there. So that, and then we also have Strongsville head coach Troy Grawl, who will be on in the White West, and then White East. WRA, they had a great season last year. Lucas Picioli will join us.
Great effort.
Yeah, I'll have to get that pronunciation before the show. Hopefully that was it. Well, we'll see. In the red division, we have Amherst head coach Steve Morris coming on. So we have 4 coaches right now. We're working on probably about 3 others, possibly. So we'll wait during the week and see if we can land those. But 4 coaches and president of the Greater Cleveland High School Hockey League, Ryan Kelber, will join us. So a big show, again, this Sunday night at 7 p.m. Sean did a great job telling you about that. Join our Facebook Live. There'll be a live stream, and it'll also be archived. Go to sportsontappodcast.com for more information on that.
It doesn't get much bigger than this from a preview show perspective. We, instead of breaking it up into multiple shows, we're just doing it all in one shot.
Marathon show.
That's right, man.
Yeah, this
On it a mega cast, baby.
It's if everything flows along the way that these last 4 months have flowed, it's not going to feel that long at all, because we've had some great guests, coverage. We've had great guests, and we look forward to really shifting our focus to the Greater Cleveland High School Hockey League, moving up here. As Sean said, we will be live streaming here. We will be back on the road, so you'll be able to catch us at hopefully some of your favorite ice rinks. Come up and say hi to us. But if you can't make it, most importantly, make sure you're watching us on YouTube. We're very much looking forward to bringing high school hockey directly to your favorite mobile device.
For free.
Where you may be.
For free.
And actually, and we have Robert. He's still on our YouTube Live. He said, "Go St. Edward football team," but he also said, we should cover basketball. Can you guys talk about high school basketball? Well, Noah Jacobson, I believe, will be at a basketball game coming up.
Yes, indeed, Rob. I will be at my alma mater, Medina, as they will take on Manor for the first ever Sports on Tap featured basketball game.
That's
right.
Go.
So that.
Hey, we aim to please.
He's quickly losing the initial status because he's delivering first ever content to our show. So that'll get you that'll get you off the schneid there. At least for me. Sean's not gonna let you off the hook at all. But
for a long time, probably. I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, probably. Not. It's still gonna slip in every once in a while, Noah. So don't be offended. But I'm not gonna celebrate the point like other people might. So again,
yeah, he got that all out of his system when I started.
Yes, he did. Yes, I did. You're right. Yes, I did. All right. So again, make sure this Sunday, huge show for Greater Cleveland High School Hockey League preview for all 3 of the divisions. Multiple coaches are going to be joining us from all over the realm there. And then we're going to wrap up again on Monday. Next Monday with our state championship show as well. All right, last and certainly not least, for Noah Jacobson, for Josh Jeffy, Sean Duffy, Rob Troutman, my name is Ed Dick. You are watching us live on YouTube. Again, follow us on Facebook. Smash the like button. Get those notifications. Check us out at sportsontapodcast.com. Send any sort of pronunciations, smart remarks, stats, or anything else helpful to us at sportsontapodcast@gmail.com. And make sure you're following us on Twitter at SOT Podcast. We are Sports on Tap. We will see you on the other side.
As always, great effort.